Rochesterturning is here with Bill Press after a great Greece fundraiser for the Greece Democratic Committee. Bill, just a couple of quick questions for you. Is it true WROC 9:50 a.m. is changing its format?
WROC has given official notice to Jones Radio Networks that as of Labor Day, they are going to discontinue all progressive talk in the Rochester area. WROC will no longer be a progressive talk station. I think they're going to change to sports, which means that there will be not 1 hour of progressive talk in the Rochester area. No Bill Press, no Stephanie Miller, no Ed Schultz, no Randy Rhodes, no Tom Hartman, nobody. Just right-winger after right-winger after right-winger.
Any idea what the balance is from a...
Yeah, the balance is, that will mean 30 hours. We added up all the conservative talk show hosts in the Rochester area. 30 hours every day of right-wing talk, not 1 hour of progressive talk, and these are on the public airwaves that the networks get for free from the federal government, and for which they're supposed to serve the general public, not just a conservative listening audience.
Thank you. We've heard our conservative friends say that, it's just an example. There's no market for progressive radio and all of that. How would you answer that? There's no market for progressive radio. It's just a failed experiment.
It's bullshit, if I can say that. It is. No. Look, progressive talk works. You figure this way: 50% of the American people didn't vote for George Bush. 50% of the American people are not served by right-wing talk radio. So there's a huge audience out there of listeners and people who will buy products, buy cars, buy vacuum cleaners, go to restaurants, support advertisers, and it's proven. There are many stations around the country, progressive talk, that are making a lot of money. But you've got to give it time to work. Here in Rochester, it's been maybe 2 years. You've got to build an audience, and Entercom, the owners of WROC, haven't given progressive talk here a chance to build the kind of following, to build the kind of advertising support you need. You see, here's what they do. They give you usually the weakest signal in any area, so a lot of people can't hear it. They do very little, if any, advertising or promotion. And then they let it go maybe a year, and then pull the plug.
And then act surprised that it doesn't
and then
work.
Say, oh, well, it's commercially it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work because they don't give it a chance to work and don't support it.
You're on nationally. How have other stations that, affiliates that you're on, how have they been successful?
They've been successful because they have good lineup, good shows. They promote their shows. They build an audience. They sell it. They get their sales team out there. They get good sponsors, and they give it time to build a product. Look, whatever you think about Fox News, when Bill O'Reilly started, he didn't have any audience, but Roger Ailes said, "I think this guy's going to work." So 5 years later, O'Reilly is a star. He wasn't in the beginning. So there are many successful progressive talk radio stations around the country. Los Angeles, for example, San Francisco, they're doing great. They're making money. Rochester could be one of them too. These people would just stick with the format.
Last question: what can we do as listeners to stop this change?
Raise hell. Raise hell. I think the listeners in this area ought to really tell Entercom, we're mad as hell. We're not going to take it. We want progressive talk. We deserve to have at least one station where there are alternative voices, progressive voices on the air, and it can happen. Madison, Wisconsin. I don't know if it was an Entercom station or not, but they announced they were going to pull the plug on progressive talk, and people wrote letters. People made telephone calls. They actually turned out. Hundreds of them protested in the streets with signs and everything in front of the radio station, and they turned it around. And they convinced the owners of the station that they had a huge market that they were turning off forever. And they changed their mind, and they kept Progressive Talk in Madison, Wisconsin. So I think if the listeners in Madison, Wisconsin can stop it, the listeners of the Rochester area can stop it as well. But they've got to raise holy hell with ENERCOM.
Thank you. One last question. Who's your favorite blog in Rochester, New York?
Rochesterturning.com is my favorite blog in Rochester, New York.
Thank you very much, Bill Press. See you on the air tomorrow.
All right.